My grandfather passed when I was 14 years old. And if the Lord allows me to live to see November of this year, he would have been gone for 50 years. And I asked the fathers this: will people remember you 50 years from now? And if they do, what will they say about you? What will they say about you? Is it a foundation of love, of a legacy that lives long after you're gone? Or will you be forgotten? Put yourself in a position to always be remembered. Therefore, you leave a legacy that lives on long after you go.
What Randall just asked is a powerful question. Will you be remembered 50 years from now? And if you are, what will they say? Legacy isn't something built at the end of your life. It's built in the everyday moments, in how safe your son feels with you, in how you respond to his mistakes, in whether love feels steady or conditional. 50 years from now, he may not remember what you did for a living, but he will remember how it felt to be your son. Legacy is emotional memory, and it begins now in the small ways you show up. I walk you through where to start in my free guide, 5 Pivotal Tips on Parenting Boys. You can download it for free at thesonhoodcoaching.com in the resources section. Now, let's get back to the show. Welcome back to Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. I'm your host, Kathy, and today I'm joined by Randall Gilbert. Randall is a dynamic speaker, a passionate father-child relationship coach, and a relentless father on a mission to transform 1 million lives. Drawing from real-life experience and proven strategies, Randall equips fathers to turn every challenge into a stepping stone, guiding them to continually win their children's hearts and be the heroes their families need. With unwavering conviction, Randall empowers men to discover their God-given purpose as fathers, to pursue their goals with a relentless heart, and leave a positive generational legacy. Welcome, Randall.
Hello, how are you? Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. Randall, if someone were meeting you for the first time and really wanted to understand who you are, not just what you do, and what values you live by, what would you want them to know?
First, I want them to know is that the person that they see today is not the person that was here 10, 15 years ago. I would let them know that I am an individual that did not have his father in his life, never knew him. So there were a lot of things that I did not get as a young man growing up that I should have gotten, and it came later in life. I would let them know that I am one that is not perfect. I have made mistakes, but I am very, very thankful to share with them that I met wise men along my journey, and it helped me to turn my life around. And anyone can do this, any father can do this, but the first thing that they must do, the first 2 things I had to do to become this relentless father is to first forgive a father who was never in my life, who didn't want to be in my life. They taught me how to do that. And then secondly, which was the best decision, the second best decision there was to make the decision that I was going to be this impactful, kind, loving, inspiring father that I did not have in my life.
Lovely. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about, like a bullet point kind of scenario, what the 4 legacy pillar framework is all about, and what was that journey that got you to that point of creating that and implementing it?
Well, the 4 legacy pillars we are the solid foundation, the fathers in which the family stands on. We are the wall of protection that protects them from the villains. We are the lighthouse that is a lighted path before the family so that we may lead them. And then we're the runway that where we give our children permission after we've given them what they needed to take off and soar. But we also use that as a landing pad. So anytime they need to be refilled, they can always come back to Father. And how did that come about was as I said earlier, not having a father in my life, I made a promise to my children before they were ever born. They will never know what it felt like to experience an absentee father. Did not know how I was going to do it, but I knew that there was something in me that kept telling me I could do this thing if I put myself in the right company and stayed there. And that is what I was blessed with, to find men who took me under their wing and they walked with me and they nurtured me. And I like to share that story of the Good Samaritan because I was flat in the ditch, didn't know which way to turn, had the family, I was involved with the family, but it was rough, it was shaky. Just because you are an adult, that doesn't mean you know everything that you need to know, especially when it comes to the family. So I was blessed to have been introduced to a gentleman who is now, for the first time when he met me, I felt as though I had a father in my life. And that's where it started from. And it has continued to build. I have a passion for fathers because again, I still can remember how it felt not to have someone to run to, not to have someone that I could open up to, not to have someone who said to me that they were proud of me. Everything that I did not have, the good Lord has allowed me to be a blessing to my children.
Our own experiences are often the most powerful motivators for what we do to try to help others not go
Yes,
through the same pain that we did.
yes.
Okay, so when I was looking at pillar one, I have a question connected to that. So, confidence in boys today seems to be quite fragile. So, how
Mhm.
does consistency from a father actually build internal confidence in his son?
Well, when a child knows there is a consistent father in their life, they have a place that they can run and hide. They have a place that they can run and be embraced and be encouraged. Consistency is so very, very important because the child can deal with outside disruptions disappointments. But in the back of their mind, if we as fathers have been consistently there, then they realize that if I could just get home to my dad, if I could just sit down and talk with my father, this is going to be okay. And one of the examples that I like to use, the first before my first three sons, my first three sons, they were the middle kid was one who internalizes things. And I remember taking him to a high school dance, and he was waiting on one young lady to show up. He was in the ninth grade, and people were speaking to him as they were going in, and he kept waiting. He kept waiting. She never shows up, and he looks at me and he said, "Dad, take me home." And I said, "Sir, don't you want to go in and have a fun with your friends? They've been asking for you. They can't wait to see you. Dad, take me home." Now, if it had been the youngest son, he would have said, "Dad, let's go and look. Something has happened. Let's go and look for it." If it had been the eldest son, he would have said, "Dad, okay, come back in a couple hours. I'm going in and having me a great time." But this middle son internalizes things. We take him home. I take him home, and I follow him right on to his bedroom, and he's on the bed just flipping a ball up. And I knew that I could not allow this to to take root in him because I know he was sorely disappointed. And I just kept talking about anything I could think of. And after about 30 minutes, he finally asked the question, Dad, why did she do it? And we had the greatest conversation. He goes to school the next week, and I asked him, I said, Did you see your friend? He said, Yeah, Dad, I saw her. I said, what happened? We're just going to be friends. We just decided we're going to be friends. We have to know our children. The foundation, you got to know what rests on you. You got to be able to hold it up. So when your children are disappointed, you got to know how to engage them. But it only comes through being consistent.
Beautiful. Okay, so with pillar two, the wall of protection, when you talk about guarding the heart and mind, how does that apply today in a world where pornography, social media, and messaging about masculinity is everywhere?
That role that we have as a father, as a protector, meaning that I like to use the example of having my antennas in an upright position. If I don't engage my kids, if I don't monitor what they're doing, if I don't spend time with them, then there are so many other things that are just anxious to take my place. So we have discussions. We eat dinner together. I want to know, how was your day? What did you experience today? Was there a setback? And I also want to celebrate the wins. What did you accomplish? This is how we build that wall that will protect them because, yes, they're going to have setbacks. Yes, they're going to have disappointment. Yes, friends may turn their backs on them. But if we are engaged with our children, the thing that they will always be assured of is that when I used to go into the house when they were all home, I would make my presence known by I'm home, and I don't care what part of the house they were in, they would come running. Hey, Dad, how are you? How was your day? And then we get a chance to eat dinner together. These are the things that I was taught later on how to be engaging, how to be that protector for your children because they want to have that safe place to land. And again, one word that stands out is being consistently showing up every day. Not about I show up because I feel a certain way. No, I show up because I get an opportunity to be a gift to the gift.
A lot of parents that, they intentionally parent and they incorporate many of the things that you're talking about, often they really struggle through the teen years, through puberty, adolescence, the teens where our boys are wanting more independence. They're not always as communicative. How would this be applicable to them?
Kids definitely want to have their own independence at an early age. Mine came uh, forcefully. In other words, it was forced upon me, and it made my walk difficult. It made my walk very, very hard to get past hurdles. My mother was there. She did the very best that she could. Now I'm the eldest of six. I'm the eldest of six, and I'm thankful that none of us, because of my mother's attention and my grandparents, played a huge role in my life, in all of our lives. So therefore, my grandfather, who was my hero for the first 14 years of my life, after all of a sudden he was gone. And now where I felt secure having my grandfather to lock the door to make sure that everything was sealed up in the evening time, it fell on my shoulders. And it was, he would be there for me. And when he was not there, then distractions began to come. Distractions began to interfere with what my mom and my grandmother wanted me to do. But fortunately, I got to the age of 18 and I needed structure. I needed some serious structure. So that's why I joined the army. I joined the army. I appreciate the military now, years after, because it was the first time I truly made a decision. Because once I said I do, mom or grandmother couldn't come and rescue me. But I did get timely information going into the military. Randall, yes, sir. Just do what they tell you to do. I always look back at my life and I always got timely information to continue to walk with me as I try to navigate this maze called life. But when it comes down to kids who feel as though they want to be independent, when my child or when my children got to that age, I still had to be father. I still had to know who their friends were. I wanted to know where they were going. So it's one of those things that if I did not have men pouring into me, not on me, because a lot of people will tell you, well, just let them learn the hard way. No, these children have so many opportunities to do great things, but we have to understand that we're not in a race. We are in a lifelong journey. Even today, if kids, the 5 kids are grown, they may call me on my birthday, they may call me on Father's Day, they may call me on Christmas. And Lord knows they call me when they need something. But once a week, they're going to get a text message or they're going to get a phone call from me to let them know I'm here for you. So the parenting never stops. They're going to go through that season, but what we cannot do is stop parenting and loving on our children.
Good advice. Okay, now move into pillar 3, the lighthouse. So if a father himself feels lost, if he hasn't yet done the work on himself, how does he become a lighthouse for his son when he's still trying to figure things out for himself?
How I ended up getting to the place of where I met a gentleman, and for the last 18, 19 years, he has been a very, very important piece in my life, was that when fathers are hurting, and I was hurting, I you end up having conversations with anyone. And the individual who introduced me to the man that helped to change my life, he and I met him for the very first time at a mutual friend's body shop, and I was hurting, and I just started sharing. Man, I'm going through this. I don't know how to get past this. And 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 he said, "Oh my goodness, Randall, we have a group that meets every Monday night, and tonight we're meeting at 7 p.m. We need to hear your story." And I'm telling you, I accepted that invitation. If he had told me to drive to the space station, I would have done so. But I was there at 7 o'clock, and I'm sitting in this circle in a church, and I'm seeing people open up like I never heard them open up before. And as soon as everybody finished, he came to me. He said, "Randall, this is your first time here. Tell me a little bit about yourself." And I said, "My wife doesn't do this. My wife won't do this. My wife, my wife, my wife." For about 10 minutes, he let me go on. And then he asked me, "Are you finished?" I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "Give me that window and you take this mirror and you look in it, and who do you see? I said, I see myself. He said, don't you ever mention your wife's name in this circle ever again. You are the priest of your home. You are the leader in your home. And not one time have you taken responsibility for what went on in your home. Now, keep in mind, ma'am, I had been in the military. I'd had a trucking company at this time. I'd had a landscaping company. I thought I had done manly things. And before he sat down, he looks back at me and said, and oh, by the way, I said, yes, sir. You ain't no man. See, we have to take responsibility for what goes on in our home. For that night, the very first night I met him, I felt as though for the first time a father had spoken life into my life. And it has never been the same. And I even asked him, I said, Pastor, you was tough on me the very first night. You saw me the very first night. He said, Randall, as a father and as a leader and as a pastor, I am responsible for giving you the truth up front. It may not taste good, but I got to give it to you because I may not ever see you again. But you showed me what kind of man you were because for the last 17, 18 years, you've been coming back.
Okay, for the last pillar, the runway. So, failure is terrifying for many parents to watch. Sometimes I think, especially for fathers with their sons. So, how should fathers respond when their sons fail? What's important for them to remember? When I was raising my son, I longed for a guide, something real, honest, and grounded in what boys truly need. So I created the book that I wish I'd had. Packed with tools and real world strategies that actually work, you'll learn how to nurture his emotional world and finally understand the feelings behind his behavior. Because boys don't need punishment, they need guidance. We'll bust the myths that keep boys boxed in and help you support him through the real challenges of growing up. Most of all, it's about transforming your connection, one small moment at a time. Raising boys who become remarkable men. Get your copy today, and let's create a beautiful future together.
Well, what we do in the Relentless Fathers Army school community, what we tell fathers is that we're all going to make mistakes. We have to remember that we made mistakes as well. But when the children make mistakes, then that's why we need to have our emotions regulated. That's why we need to always be aware of the consistency in the way that we talk to our children. Because even when they made a mistake, we have to go in, explain to them about the mistake, but we also need to be in that position that where we can explain to them why it's a mistake. Our children want to know that they are loved. They want to know that they are cared for. But when a child stretches himself because dad has told them that they have greatness in them, that they can do incredible things, kids will stretch themselves sometimes to do greater things and they make mistakes. Well, we've got to be there to tell them, you tried, let's get back up and let's get back into the race. Our presence is what the children need. This is what gives them that attitude and the attitude of one that they know that I can do certain things. Why? Because my dad told me to. But my dad told me I could. My dad said, I will fall, but get back up. I will make mistakes. My dad always tell me to watch the people and what they do. I challenged my children when they were going through school. I said, do you ever see anybody who's sitting by themselves doing gym? Do you ever see anybody who eats by themselves doing lunch? Do you ever see an individual who's changing classes and they're always by themselves. And they always say, yeah, Dad, I do see someone like that. Then befriend them. Befriend them. Many times when people end up by themselves, they are calling for help. They stand out. So when a child makes a mistake, that's the time that they are standing out. They are calling for help. Correct, help me to correct this. And it doesn't happen overnight. When we plant seeds of patience, when we plant seeds of love, God is the one who gives us the seed. Now, the problem that most people have is that they will hold a seed and just hold on to it, but they never plant the seed. How do we plant the seed? Well, we have to till the ground. In other words, we have to engage our children. Another thing, we have to water the seed. We have to constantly, consistently be a present in their life. So when children make mistakes, it's not the ones that will take them out. It's ones because they've tried, and when they share it with dad, they automatically know that my father is going to give me an encouraging word. He's going to dust me off and he's going to tell me to get back in the fight. So that's what we have to do for our children when they do fall down and make mistakes. We have to show love.
Mm. What do you think is the greatest threat to a father's legacy today?
Not truly understanding his role. We for so many years we thought that, okay, if I keep a roof over your head, if I keep food in the refrigerator, if I keep the lights on, I've done my role. No, that's just a part of it. We have to learn to communicate. We have to actively listen to our children. And we must always spend that quality time with them, give them an opportunity to speak, do things together. I love being in the kitchen. And my wife will tell you, and I tell people, I said, my wife is not a sprinter. She's not a runner, but if you want to see her move quickly, tell her to get out the kitchen. I love spending time in the kitchen. I love cooking for the family. So the boys and I growing up, we could do things like that. Cleaning, doing chores. It's just spending time with the children. They understand that, man, my dad did this. You're setting them up for that to carry on from the next generation to the next generation. My grandfather passed when I was 14 years old. And if the Lord allows me to live to see November of this year, he would have been gone for 50 years. And I asked the fathers this: will people remember you 50 years from now? And if they do, what will they say about you? What will they say about you? Is it a foundation of love, of a legacy that lives long after you're gone? Or will you be forgotten? Put yourself in a position to always be remembered. Therefore, you leave a legacy that lives on long after you're gone.
What do you think is the greatest silent struggle that fathers are carrying right now that no one's talking about?
Well, fathers don't want to make a situation worse. So they said, well, if I just let it, you know, gradually disappear, it does not. A wound, a wound, you often have heard it said that a wound will heal itself with time. Well, if we don't address that wound, it will infect other areas. It will mature. So what we have to do, again, remembering that being engaged with our children, understanding that they need us to be there for them at all times, going to be able to build a strong foundation. We're never going to be able to build a wall. We're never going to be able to be that light for them. And we're never going to be able to give them permission to soar. I hope that I answered that question for you, ma'am. I hope I did.
Very much so. Thank you. Um, so, thinking about in connection with your four pillars, where do you see fathers getting stuck the most often? Like in the foundation, or protection, or vision, or release?
Well, if we don't have the foundation right, we can't move to the next levels. The foundation is where we struggle the most because we have not been told who we are and what we should do. We have not been taught. Everything that you and I are talking about tonight has to be learned. And if we are not in the position to teach our children, the world will get them and they don't have their best interests at hand. So, Father, start with the foundation because we can't carry the load of being a father, being a leader, if our foundation is flawed. So that's where it starts, knowing that I am prepared to be the rest of the three pillars. But the foundation must be started and it must be sturdy to handle the wall, to hold on to the light fixtures, and really to be the solid foundation in which the family can take off and soar.
So that might answer my next question, but I'll ask it anyway, just in case there's anything additional you wanted to add. What I wanted to ask you was, how did the four legacy pillars help shape a boy's understanding of desire, ambition, sexuality, identity before culture does?
It all goes back to
Together.
what role am I playing in my child's life? Am I teaching him the things how to be a man? And one of the things that I learned in my group of becoming this man, being engaged or embracing my children. Man, I love to give the kids a little, I call them kids, they're all grown, but I always greet them with a kiss on the cheek. We show affection toward one another. We never end a conversation without saying, son, I love you, or dad, I love you. I send them messages during the week. I'm thinking about you. Remember, you have greatness in you. Thanks, Dad. I needed that. So we always just have to continue to stay engaged with our children and walk with them and talk with them to make sure that we cover every aspect of their upgrowing so that they can be productive citizens, so that they can do the great and challenging things in this thing called life. I hope I answered that question, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah, you did. So it sounds like almost everything that you've been talking about ties back to like putting the relationship first, the importance, the real strong importance of communication, good communication, and consistency and presence. Those two things I thought they're very important. And like you say, it's the foundation that you build that's going to help you navigate everything else. So, yeah.
Amen. Yeah,
It's a
that is.
beautiful framework then, and thank you for sharing it with me.
Well, yes, ma'am. I enjoy talking to fathers about their importance. I enjoy encouraging fathers to step out and do the uncomfortable things. A lot of fathers say, well, I don't know how to talk to my child. Well, you're in the right place because we're going to encourage you to do that. We're going to teach you how to do that. And these fathers are in the community because they are investing in themselves. I am a father. I love to lead this group, but I'm learning every day because I stay in the word. I stay in my writings. I stay in my readings. I stay on my knees because life is difficult, but we make it more difficult when we choose to be inconsistent.
Well, I think a lot of fathers, a lot of men benefit greatly from having support, whether it's from a group like yours or a personal mentor or whatever. But I don't think we often give men the same support that we give women. So I love providing an opportunity to expand on the concepts of how we can better support our men and especially dads, because that's a critical role that they are playing. Randall, before we finish today, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wish we had of?
Well, you pretty much covered a lot of the areas that I truly do focus on. The only thing that we would that we did not talk about, and we do in our community, is about co-parenting. When you're not in the home with your child, can you still be an impactful, loving, kind father? Yes, you can. Just before I got on this interview with you, I was introduced to a young man who is by a friend who turned him my way, and we had a three-way call going, and he's struggling right now. The wife and he are not together, and the kids are not responding to his calls or texts. But I tell fathers who are in this position that this is the greatest opportunity for you to learn to sow your seed. And again, a lot of my teachings are spiritually based. God has given us all a seed, that seed of love. And many a times, until we're taught how to plant the seed, how to water the seed, how to nurture the seed, we can never get to the harvest. And what I was telling this young man is that you have to now start to sow a seed with no expectation except from the good Lord. A lot of us become disappointed when we do things and we don't instantly see a return on our investment. Well, then we really may not be doing it from a position of love. We're promoting a response. We're trying to get a response of what we want to hear. But true love, to show true love, you're going to be tested. To show true love, it's going to be challenging. The thing is that you need to align yourself with fathers who will continue to pour, as I alluded to earlier, fathers who will pour into you rather than on you. And we're going to always remind you of what you can do when you sow the seed properly. Sow the seed and look for your return, or look for your victory from the Lord and Savior Himself. Therefore, in due season, you should get your harvest. I never saw my grandfather, and he was a farmer. He would go out and plant a seed. He would till the ground, then he would drop the seed. But I never saw him go back the next day to dig it up to see what he had, what was growing. We talk about seed, and this is where I get people, time and harvest. We know we have a seed, but that part to get to the harvest is time. That's where we drop the ball most of the time. We become impatient and we don't want to see it through. The greatest relationships, I do believe, have been the ones who have gone through the toughest of all tests, and we got to the harvest season. There were things, all those things that when we sat back and look at what we went through, help us to become this impactful, loving, kind, inspiring fathers that our families will always, not just when they're growing up, but will always need us to be so that they can stand strong.
Randall, where can people find out more about you and your work and just learn about what you're up to?
I have a website that you can go to, which is relentlessfathersarmy.com. We also have a Relentless Father School, SKOOL community, and it is https://school.com/relentless-fathers-army-9850. In this community, we have courses that fathers can take at their own leisure. They can take it once they finish up the course. Once they read the course, they can then do the worksheet. Once they complete the worksheet, they can get a certificate of completion, and then they move on to the next course. They also have in their monthly, daily, because I am in there every day, Father's Call to Action. There are also Father's Affirmations. There are also a shout out page for our children so that when they do something great, we can all applaud them. We want to have a community of brotherhood. We're building a community of brotherhood where no man is left behind. You can reach me that way. I have an email address, which is relentlessfathersarmy@gmail.com. And I have a YouTube channel, and you can go and listen to my I have some teachings in there. I also have clips in there. It is Relentless Fathers Army, and you should see what we are doing in the on YouTube, and then there's TikTok where you could type in also Relentless Fathers Army, and you could see some of the clips or some of the programs that we're doing there. So we're just trying to get the word out that we are a community and we have burned the boats. We've landed on the island and we have burned the boats, and there's no way off. We come to take back the lives of our children.
Well, I'll be sure to put all of those in the show notes and make easy access for people to connect with you. Randall, I know how precious time is. I know it's very precious for you today. So I hope you feel that I honored yours. And it was really such a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you very much.
Ma'am, you did indeed. And I appreciate you having me to be a part of this great podcast.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us on Unlocking the Parenting Code, all about boys. Be sure to check out Randall's links in the show notes, and don't forget to subscribe, share, and tune in next time for more conversations about boys and men. Thank you for sharing your time with me today. Every conversation we have here is a step toward raising boys who feel seen, heard, and deeply valued. If you're looking for more support on this journey, I invite you to visit me at sonhoodcoaching.com. You'll find a link in the show notes. And as always, thank you for being part of this important movement. Until next time, take good care.